Good morning, lovely people. It's a sunny Vlogmas day 12 here. Beautiful out there. But I'm in here because when I'm away, I miss my sewing room. And this project with the snowball blocks is calling my name today. I need to get on with this because it's a Christmas quilt and I want it on the wall of my dining room. ASAP. So I'm going to start piecing these blocks together, which means I probably should lay them out first and not just do it any old how. Right, I need to do that first. Decide what order they're going to be in. I've got my 1/4 inch foot set up on my machine. I tidied my work area a little bit because there were art supplies everywhere. Wouldn't it be nice if a little tidying fairy came in while I was away and just got everything looking great so I can just sit down and sew? Yeah, that doesn't happen. So the iron is on, the machine is on, the fairy lights are on, but you probably can't see those because they're probably above the level of what you can see. Oh no, maybe you can see a little bit. The thing is, what I've noticed is that because of the way this films and then uploads, and then I have to change the proportion of it when I get it into my editing software. So the default is 21:9. When I change it to 16:9, it comes in at the sides and slightly wider at top and bottom. So sometimes I'll think something's fully in the screen or in the view area, and then it shrinks in and it's not quite there. Fun times. So yeah, first thing to do, lay out my blocks on my design wall over there and then start sewing. There we are. I have put all my squares on my batting background. I had to pin them well because they didn't want to stick too easily. I haven't overthought it. I put them up just making sure that nothing's touching one that's exactly the same. And they all coordinate, so I think that'll be fine. And now I can start sewing. Because I have these flappy bits on the corners of my blocks, double thickness here, I am pinning. I rarely pin my quilt things together before I sew. I usually just put them together and whiz. But some of my triangles are not completely flush to the size, the edge of the original square. And also I don't want them to shift while I'm sewing. They probably will not come out perfect when joined together, but that's okay. I have put post-it notes at the top of the first 2 columns, and I will do that with the other ones as well, because I want to keep track of where I am. I just pinned a number 1 and 2 to the tops of there. And as you can see, this does not match at all here. In theory, I should be attempting to match up this so that it looks perfect here. But perfection is overrated, in my opinion. Sometimes perfection is required, but not in this case. I'm just trying to make sure that these are lying flat. And I'm lining up the backing square and not worrying about the red fabric. Of course, if the red fabric sticks out beyond the edge, Going to mess up my 1/4 inch foot probably. But I can probably override that. Just by easing it in. Oh, that second one came out quite well. I've sewn all my column 1s to column 2s. I feel like I'm making bunting here. And I've taken all my column 3s out down off the wall in order with the top one on the top. So I'm going to grab one of these squares and start sewing it to the top of row 2, and then just carry on down the line. So all my row 3s, column 3s, will be attached to my column 2s. I've taken my paper numbers off. I probably could have done without them. It's only a small quilt, really. But so far I have got a web of things joined together. So it looks really weird right now. I think I'm going to press this first. Sometimes I don't bother. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to press across the rows. I'm going to go, first row will be pressed one way, second row will be pressed another way. That way they'll nest properly when I do the long horizontals here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows and my quilt top will be finished. The beauty of doing it this way and having this webbing of stitches holding my rows together is that all you need to do is you flip the first row over the second, and where this little bar of stitches is, where you chain pieced, it holds them close together. I could have even put less of a gap there. So you do need to make sure that your seam allowances are flipped the right way. So this one is on top is going to be away from me, and the one underneath is going to be towards me. And I will have to just make sure that they are sitting nicely together. But there's no need to pin because they fall quite cooperatively together. In theory. Shouldn't speak too soon, should I? As I'm coming up to this, I'm just making sure my edges are matching and my seams are matching. And hopefully my intersections will look lovely. Doesn't always work out, because sometimes if there's been any sort of inaccuracy in one's cutting, that can mess things up. But sometimes you can stretch the fabric ever so slightly. And fudge it a bit. My seams are all done. I have red threads everywhere, and also some cream threads sticking out at the front. So annoying. Right, so we're going to start on the back. Those 6 crosswise seams that I just did, I'm going to press. I should probably just press them all one way. So we're just going to press them away from me because that's simpler. I was thinking that if my red diamonds look really messy, Well, there's not a lot I can do about the outer points. But if the intersections in the middle aren't great, it shouldn't matter too much because they're all red. If they were different colours, it would be really obvious, wouldn't it? And I did have plans, or I do have plans, to put something decorative in the centre of each of the red diamonds. So that will disguise things, won't it? I just noticed that my microphone battery died while I was talking to you. I'm not sure how much waffle you missed there. I've put the other one on. So I pressed the seams from the back that I just sewed, and now I'm pressing them from the front. And this is where I get to see how accurate or inaccurate my seams are. So many threads. Mostly, they look quite good. There's a little bit of inaccuracy there. My intersections are okay on that one. I did notice on that very last seam that I sewed that the intersections weren't matching up quite as accurately as they should be. I remember the days when my mum used to iron pretty much everything that she washed because we didn't have such easy care fabrics when I was a kid. These days you can toss These days you can toss your clothes in the washer and dryer and then just put them straight into the closet because of the synthetics. But pressing cotton quilting fabric is very satisfying. I seem to be really good at burning myself this week. Just caught myself with the iron. But the other day at the Airbnb, I was coming in off the deck in my swimsuit, having been in the hot tub. And I turned around, slid the deck door closed, and caught my leg on the corner of that wood stove. The wood stove that wasn't really a wood stove, if you remember. But it was exceedingly hot, and I ended up with quite the burn on my thigh, which hurt for a good couple of days after that. And then I burnt my hand on the, what was it? Was it the handle of the kettle or was it the handle of a saucepan? It was a gas stove, which was lovely to use. I mean, gas is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsive, isn't it? You switch off the gas and the heat goes away straight away. It's not like electric where it cools down slowly. But the kettle handle got really, really hot when we were making tea. And the saucepan lids, Airbnbs always have cheap shit, don't they? Cheap saucepans, cheap knives, blunt knives, but no insulated handle on it. And we did have a couple of oven gloves provided. But of course, I wasn't thinking about that the first time I picked up a saucepan lid off the top of the hot saucepan, did I? Now, there's just a little wrinkle right in there, in my red diamond, and I don't think it's going to press out. But that's the only one I saw out of all of my intersections. All right. Quilt top's done. It's coming up for midday, and as I had reached a sensible pausing point with my quilt top being done, I made myself a smoothie. I couldn't think of anything else to have for lunch, and I haven't had a smoothie in a really long time. So I thought it was probably a good nutritious option. And it matches the cup. A purple berry smoothie in a purple cup. So, lots of kale in that. Very virtuous indeed. So I'm going to eat some of this, and I need to figure out which batting I'm going to use. If I have enough of the super cheap polyester stuff, I'll use that. If not, I'll have to cut into my lovely cotton one, which is pretty expensive. And this is just going to be a seasonal wool quilt, so I think cheaping out is the way to go. I'm going to have a rummage next. Let's ignore the fact that there are messy things all the way around the edge of the room here, and admire the fortuitous amount of batting I had. I had a piece of batting. I think it's the same stuff I put on the wall. I got it for free. And I just had to cut a couple of odd shapes off it, and it fits my quilt top perfectly. And then in my stash of fabrics, I found this rather ugly greenish plaid, which also fits it perfectly. Now, I don't feel like quilting this thing because I don't want to make a mess of it, but also, what colour thread would I use? I could use red, I could use cream, I could use green. I could just do what I initially said and just use the intersections of my red diamonds and sew a decorative doohickey in each intersection, and that would tie the 3 layers of the quilt together. And I think that's what I'm going to do because it's quick. The thing is, I'm going to have to buy them first, so I can't finish it today because I'm going to have to look at work later. So what I'll do is I'll count how many intersections I have that I need to sew a little decorative thing in, and pick them up later, and then I can finish this quilt after that. Probably won't be tomorrow because I am working all day tomorrow. Maybe Friday. No, tomorrow is Friday. Maybe Saturday. I don't know what day of the week it is. It's 2 o'clock. I need to be ready to go out by 4:45, but I want to have eaten something first. I also want to leave some food for the rest of the mob before I go. So I have pulled out a bunch of stuff from the fridge and the freezer to make a big casserole. It's what I would call refrigerator soup, but it's going to be more of a stew. So what have I got? I have my giant Dutch oven at the ready. I have my brags. because I don't use vegetable stock powder or anything, but I do use this to add lots of salty savouriness, so that's good. I have frozen tomatoes from the fall that I picked myself from one of the farms locally. So I'm going to put lots of those in, because even though they're frozen, they taste a lot fresher than the canned ones, which is nice. I have a massive bag of carrots, so I'm going to use some of those. I have some peas and green beans from the freezer, so I'm going to put some of those in a jug so that they don't all just melt while I'm doing everything else. I have half of a cauliflower. I have a little bit of the kale left that we took to the Airbnb. I have tomato paste, but I also have this stuff from the freezer that was a partial can, which I'll probably throw in as well. I love things like this because it finishes up lots of bits, right? I need to do a shop. Once all this is done, what am I doing? I'm working the next couple of days. Supermarket might have to wait till Sunday. I'm supposed to be going out to lunch on Sunday. I'll figure it out. I've got some frozen butternut squash in here. I have some fresh mushrooms. And I have potatoes and red lentils. So I think with that lot, I should be able to make a nice big pot of food. And if I make enough that there's leftovers, Mr. Stitches can take some for work tomorrow for his lunch. Okay, going to be a lot of chopping. All right, you're sitting in another cupboard. I've got the phone on a tripod facing my work area. I poured myself a cup of coffee so we can enjoy that while we are cooking. Oh, talking about myself in plural. I must be royalty. All right, those are the peas and green beans that I'm going to put in. Those are done. In fact, why don't I just put them straight in the bowl? I could have saved myself the hassle there, couldn't I? Putting 4 cups of water in my pot, and I'm just going to get it heating up. While I'm chopping, I might as well put my butternut squash in there as well. I like to do the easy things first sometimes. Now, I did a Dale Carnegie course a long time ago in my 20s. My insurance broker boss paid for me to do the course. And I always remember that he used to say, the main thing I remember from that course, in fact, the only thing I remember from that course is do the nasties first. If you have a list of things you need to do, if you do the easy things first, you might not get to the harder things or the less pleasant things. But if you do the things that are less pleasant first, you can, I suppose, kind of reward yourself with the nice stuff later. I don't always follow my own advice. But today, though, I did get some laundry on early, which is why the oven timer is going to bleep shortly to remind me to check the dryer. But I left the dishwasher unloading and reloading and the floor mopping till after I had done my quilt fun. Not much point being fancy about the chopping because the cauliflower will probably just fall to pieces once it's been simmering a while. Just going to put about a half a cup of lentils in there. Thickens it up nicely. I think that's probably enough tomato paste. I don't think I need another jar or can of it. A quarter of a cup of Bragg's. Oh, there it goes all over the place. Sip of coffee. I don't usually worry about peeling carrots, just give them a scrub. I do normally break those tomatoes up a bit before I throw them in, rather than putting them in one big lump. Oh well, it's all about the slapdash today. Probably should leave some mushrooms so that we can have them on another day for pizza. Going to take a long time for this stew to warm up. So much frozen stuff in it. We always self-cater when we go away. And I'm reminded by how inadequate Airbnb kitchens are. And I appreciate my own kitchen all the more. It's old. We've been living in this house for nearly 30 years and we haven't updated the units. We have updated the appliances a couple of times, but not the units. And sometimes I dream of an IKEA kitchen. But even though I have dreams of an IKEA kitchen, it's no good if it doesn't have the spice rack and of course the pantry of regular ingredients that I'm always using. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm far from being a professional vegetable cutter. I'm going to keep the seasonings really simple. I've got my saltiness from my Bragg's. I'm going to have freshly ground black pepper. And I'm going to use this. Let's see if you can see that. I can't see the screen. I have to keep hopping up on a stool so I know if you can see something. You probably can't read that. If you're anything like me, you can't read that because it's all in Mandarin. This is called Cedar Spice by my Taiwanese friends. It does have a Chinese name, obviously. I cannot remember what it is. And it says 2023 on it. So it has been in the freezer a while because I don't use it very quickly, but it's fine. It is a herb. It's very, very... I can't even really describe to you what it smells like. It's a herb mixed with some oil. It's very pungent and very tasty. And you don't have to defrost it to use it. You just scrape some out with a fork and then put the rest back in the freezer. So it lasts for ages. You don't really need much. I'm probably going over the top with that much, but we'll start with that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on this. It's on 7, so it should heat up quite quickly. So I'm going to put the lid on that. Get those frozen things to defrost and then clean up. And here it is, bubbling away. I'll be able to eat some of that before I go to work. I put my paintings on the windowsill with my pretty lights. It's coming up for 4 p.m, so it'll be pretty dark soon. I've got my bowl of stew and some toast. I'm going to eat that now so that I'm not starving at work. They'll give me a short break, so I'll just have a snack bar, energy bar later. I'm going to wind up this one here because I will be getting back home pretty late tonight. So best to get it uploaded and ready before I go out. So I'll see you again tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 13. Bye for now.